Hi and hello watch fans, and welcome once again to the Real Time Show, live from the Villa Sarasan at the Times Watchers event. Today we are with Claudio from Code41, one of the most talked about brands over the past few years for their disruptive, transparent and stylistically challenging pieces. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you very much.
How has your first day of the fair been? Busy?
The first day was amazing. It was very busy and people were just coming to this little place, Sarasa. It's quite a small and nice place, so people just go around. It was very friendly. And we had a lot of people coming to see the product in real because, as you mentioned, we have been quite active on the social media and all of that. But in real life, people were just coming to see the product in real life.
For the very first time in many cases.
Some people for the very first time, yes.
What are the reactions like generally?
Very positive because the quality is always difficult to judge on pictures. And usually when people see that, they usually are surprised of the details of the quality, the general feeling of the products. So it has always been very positive.
Very good. Do you personally have a favorite model that you've produced over the years?
I would say that, this rectangular...
yeah, of course.
Megascape. I don't know if we need to call it a watch or at least a time product. I think this one is my favorite because it's a mix of everything. It's just a lot about mechanical elements that you can see on a large scale, because the idea was there to have all the components to put side by side instead of having them on top of each other. And the feeling is very good because you really have this landscape of mechanical, which is Megascape. It's a mechanical landscape. And this as a designer also, I like it because it's just an object that is showing time, but in itself, I actually love also the shape and the size of the object.
Yeah, I really was taken by it the first time I held it in my hand, how it felt like something from the future, or maybe something from the past at the same time. It was a bizarre proportion. It's bigger than a credit card, quite considerably so. It's the size of, I don't know, how would you describe it, Alan? It's like a long, thin, a smartphone. Yeah,
the size of a smartphone.
It's a little thinner than the smartphone, isn't it?
With the diameters, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's the closest comparison, I suppose. But it's just so beautifully made and such attention to detail in the finishing and the quality of machining. It really is an absolute pleasure. Do you have a favorite, Alan, from Code41?
I actually had the honor to discover a full array of the collection last year. And I was really taken aback by the skeleton chronograph, and correct me if I don't pronounce the model name correctly. It was a whole universe that opened up for me. I've been following Code41 and Claudio from day one. You basically broke the internet with the transparency of conducting business by cutting out a lot of middle men and women. So you offered a lot of value for money with the price points. And most importantly, it was very contemporary and technological design. And obviously with the Megascape, you also broke the internet again. All our colleagues and friends of all media publication in the watch industry covered it, loved it. I believe you did 2 or 3 production runs and they all sold out.
Yes, actually, we are still finishing the first production run because it's a very crazy piece, but also for watchmakers. It has been a crazy piece, and somehow, of course, it's normal to have a first round of prototypes. Then you need to modify something. So I would say the process is as usual for the development of a movement, but this time it was even more complex and it took more time than I expected. So normally in June we can deliver the first 150 pieces, and then of course we are already planning the second round. But first it has to be perfect for the first, and not an easy one, I would say, for watchmakers.
For you here as a direct-to-consumer brand, are you here also to explore, besides speaking to media and seeing collectors, also doing wholesale and or retail?
Yes, actually, we started with Code41 by really going into the internet and wanted to talk directly to the final customer because they actually vote for the projects. Also, we ask advice from them. But since the beginning, we started with some standard movements, so it was fine just to be online. But now we have 4 in-house movements, and we have a product that needs to be seen in real. And we are here also not really to develop the retail as we usually think of retail, but more find the proper partners with physical place where we could have some of our products. And the idea is also for us to be able to send customer or potential customer that would say, okay, nice, but I would like to see it, to send them to these partners that they can have a hand on the product to cover a bit more than just our own showroom in Switzerland. So yeah, it's not retail as usual, but physical place. That's what we're looking for also.
Did you bring novelties to this fair?
We have a project which is almost ready. As usual, I would say there was some delays in the prototype, so they were not ready for today. But it's a regulator project that it's a bit aside of what we did until today because it's not open heart, I would say, not a skeletonized watch where you see the mechanics. It's more classical piece, but with the Code41 touch. And this regulator is ready, so people already we shared already some design elements. We asked people for some design choices and colors. So on the website we can see it, and we have of course images, but the prototypes didn't arrive on time, so the pre-order would be in June.
For those that are not familiar with Code41, and you just mentioned the Code41 style, what is that style? If you had to use an elevator pitch for that.
When we talk really about the fact of the first 7 collections, it was really about showing the mechanic, the feeling of the mechanic. Myself, so I'm a designer. I'm the founder, but my background is design, and I've always been fascinated by the this rough aesthetic of machine pieces that you can find in the industry. Or I'm not talking about watchmaking. I'm talking about the real machine CNC pieces. And this kind of aesthetic, very rough but beautiful at the same time, this is what I try to do with all the case and the movement design of the 7 first collections. And this touch of just trying to, I would say, to create something that could stand out, that's the little touch of Code41. Because I also love vintage watches, of course. There is all this beautiful quality of vintage watches, but myself, I see the watchmaking that needs to go on and not always looking back. And this is what we try to do, just to see, okay, what will be next? And it will be something that people will like and some others not. But that's okay. We don't need to make everyone happy.
Would Code41 ever make a classic dress watch?
I think we can, because even this regulator or the moon phase we launched last year, these are much more classical style, but with always a little touch of Code41, meaning we try to surprise people with saying, okay, it looks dressy, classical, but somehow we see that it's graphically there is something different, and we can do almost everything actually. There is no limit. We just need to always have this fresh high on when you say you try to just push a little bit the limit.
So you've touched upon that the community is an integral part of the voting process. How do one become a community member? And how heavy is the voting rights of that community in your process?
Well, there is two different type of, I would say, community member. When you have you just register to the projects, and then you can follow the different chapters we make, and people can vote or comment. And usually when we do a new project, we make about 6 months of development, and we will share about 4 chapters, starting with first the choice of the movement, then size or stuff like that, some design elements, and people can either vote on some images or make some comments. For example, we ask people, okay, what shall we do? Shall we maybe go for just standard automatic watch, or shall we use a peripheral weight around, or shall we just go for manual? And these people can just comment. And the clients that become, when we make a pre-order, these people become the creator of the project. It means because they supported the launch of this new collection, they become creator of this new model, and they will get a piece that is engraved with creator edition. It's a numbered, let's say the first 500 will be engraved with creator edition with numbers from 1 to 500.
Do you actually have stock right now? Can people go on the website and order production models, or is it always community created, pre-ordered productions?
Currently we have 3 collections that will be available for 5 days deliveries, because these are collections that have already passed, I would say, the launch. Because for us, when we make a pre-order, it's also to validate that the project can go to production. And if not, then of course it will not go to production, and at least we didn't produce a watch that will not sell. If it does, then usually we do a second edition, still in pre-orders, and then the third collection, we will have some stock in order to say, okay, this one is validated, now we can have a bit of stock, because we know that there is traction for this model. And at the moment, there is the Day 41, the T4, and the NB24 models that are available on stock.
I can't wait to get them on my wrist again. I know I've tried them all on before, but I really have to come into the villa and have a look tomorrow. So I'm going to have to leave you to fly solo with some of these interviews so I can have a look at the good stuff, right?
Hereby granted.
Claudio, thank you for your time. We wish you the very best rest of Time to Watchers. Enjoy yourself.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and see you soon.
Code41, Alon? You've got a lot of time for these guys. You've got a lot of time for the watchers. I know that. We've sat down together with the team on multiple occasions in Geneva and had some very good conversations. What were your takeaways from this year's event?
How can you not love a guy called Claudio D'Amore? I love what they did from day one. Like Bayeux, they want to break the mold. They do things differently. They think outside the box. They are part of the watchmaking ecosystem. I'm a big fan, and it's interesting how they are pivoting with many of these initial cool cats, these new brands that were direct to consumer, and now finding a more holistic 360 way of selling their watches. And they're looking for distributors and retailers. And that's something that I found interesting. And that's also one of the reasons why they are at Time to Watches. Very technical. I wouldn't dare to call it futuristic, but a lot of skeletonized watches. And they're still making that desktop clock or pocket watch. So something I think is uber cool. What's your takeaway about the brand and what they're doing right now?
I saw the brand initially as a concept brought to life, just similar to Bayeux in that sense that it was a new way of thinking. And maybe another industry corollary to pull in here is Christopher Ward, because Code 41's real shtick was their absolute transparency, where they broke down the cost and the origin of all components, if I remember correctly. I think that's really what stood out as a presentation.
It is.
And yeah, that's the way they do it, right? Now, for me, aesthetically, I don't love many of the watches because I don't like skeleton watches very much, as you know. I absolutely adore, though, the desktop clock, the pocket watch, as it were. It's about mobile phone size, isn't it? It's around the size of an iPhone, I think, and it's a beautiful love letter to watchmaking. I think it's a reminder of the importance of appreciating time as it passes and the tactile nature of telling it and engaging with it. And I think aesthetically, it's the most successful thing they've ever done. I particularly like the Blue Bridge one with the green hands. I don't know if we've got any fans of the Seattle Seahawks listen here, but whenever brands deploy this colorway, I'm always tempted to reference their unusual jerseys that Nike obviously made a big splash with when they became uniform sponsors for the NFL. I used to call the old Tangenta update with blue and green accents the Seahawk. I think I even referenced that in an article. And this one here for me is the Code41 Seahawk. We'll call it the 12th man as a nod to Seattle's famous crowd. But I have a question for you, Alan, because I'm a little perplexed by this. Now, I know it's not a cheap thing, but I'm on the website and I'm looking at the price, and I think there's an error here because they've got it listed at 44,615 euros, 44,030 euros for the black dials one, and 44,265 for the white dials. It's not 44,000.
I think it's a bug, yes. They don't make that kind of stuff. Although, you're talking about the Mechascape, right? That desktop. Yeah. Well, I'm on the website too, and I see it, strangely enough, in sterling, and it's translated to Dutch. So, you know what? Let's send a message to Claudio, because it used to be below 10. I guess he never made a margin on it. He wanted to make a splash. I think there was round 2, and this is round 3, if I'm not mistaken. You know what? Let's put a little disclaimer there, because I know the most expensive wristwatch is the X41, something around 10K-ish, which is basically almost a proprietary manufacturer caliber. And I want to circle back to the reference you made to Christopher Ward. What I found interesting is Code41 from day one wanted to make unique designs, and it was something totally new. And they are very indeed leaning heavily on skeletonized stuff. So either you love it or you don't. That makes it very technical, a technical product. It's their DNA is also a lot of cushion shaped cases. What I didn't like about Christopher in the beginning, they were all about being low pricing, a lot of bang for your buck, but they were referred to copycats until the 12 came on the show and the Bel Canto, and that broke the mold. So, and that's, I think, a lesson we can take away from analyzing these two. And for all of those that are listening and want to make a new brand, what do you bring to the table, and what added value are you bringing both for consumers and to the watchmaking ecosystem?
Yeah, because it's a very interesting transition for Christopher Ward. I'm not sure I would say that the 12 broke the reputation as a copycat, but I would definitely say the Bel Canto did. I think the Bel Canto was the moment when you started to see Christopher Ward as a progressive and creative watchmaker rather than, again, a concept. You know, the concept of, Mike's concept, as he's frequently explained to us on the show, is transparency, connectivity with the audience, giving people what they want, not overthinking it too much in terms of design. Code41, a little different, a little more out there, a little more exciting. Now, I'm curious, what's the price of the Mechascape on your machine? What does it say?
So when I look now, I see sterling 37,665, and I'm on the .com/NL, so he knows I'm in the Netherlands, but he's projecting me in sterling.
Okay, interesting, because I guess that's a direct conversion of what I'm seeing from euros. I guess 44,000 euros, about £37,000. But I went on our good friends at Monochrome's website to check out the review of this piece when it was launched, and on their site the price was stated at 16,800. That was back in 2023, but either they've realized that it costs twice as much to make, which is totally possible, I suppose, or there's something going on there that needs a little bit of attention. We'll figure that out and we'll come back to it, because we need to get Claudio on the show for a full episode anyway.
I think actually, if I remember correctly, the first ever launch, remember when all the media co-hosts, the media colleagues of ours did a video review, I'm quite sure it was like 999 or something, a symbolic value just below 10K. And I don't think he made a single euro on it, Claudio. The 16 is maybe inflation. I think that this is maybe actually what it costs with a normal margin. But you know what? We'll owe our dear listeners an answer. We'll ping Claudio.
Yeah, we will. And we do need to get him on the show because it's a really intriguing story and something very new and novel for the industry. So let's reach out to him and get it set up.